All right, welcome. So this is the Intro to Map lesson, or Intro to Maps lesson. And so our goals for today are to talk about different types of maps and then be able to read and analyze dot, choropleth, and isoline maps. So you can see the learning target here. So you're going to see my video right above here. This is going to be the presentation. This is going to be a short quiz that you're going to take. And then this is going to be a little bit more in-depth analysis of thematic maps. So I'm going to start by going through the content here with you. And so I just read through those learning targets. And so the first thing that we're going to be taking a look at is two main types of maps. When you took geography last year, you may have taken a look at a lot of physical and political maps of either different regions or maybe even the entire world. And so when we take a look at those types of maps, we are looking at reference maps. Reference maps show locations of places and geographic features. The purpose of reference maps is to understand where things are located, to understand maybe the relationship between two different locations, and to really kind of display boundaries or physical features accurately. Reference maps would also help us get from point A to point B. So when you open up your GPS on a phone, you are taking a look at a reference map. You are taking a look at streets, you're taking a look at different locations, you're trying to get from point A to point B. What we are going to spend more time looking at in human geography are thematic maps. And to me, thematic maps are the more fun types of maps. These are the types of maps that tell us stories, they show movement, or show how something is distributed across space. So we are going to take a look at some maps, and the first, just kind of based on those definitions, we are going to try to decide if these are reference or thematic maps. And so the first one you see here is a map of the United States. It is a map of highways. So we're taking a look at, for example, 35, which runs from Duluth all the way down to, I think 35 goes all the way down to Austin, if not further, maybe Dallas. And you are, looking at, kind of major highways, other major roads, principal roads. And so as we take a look at this map, the first question we want to ask ourselves, is this map trying to show us the location of places? Is it more the purpose more to show us the location of places and maybe how to get places? Or is it more to tell us some sort of story? And although the idea that maybe roads could tell us a story, the purpose of this map is really about showing us being an accurate representation of where places are. And because of that, our answer to this question is reference map. This is a reference map. It shows us where things are, tries to show them accurately, and it helps us get from point A to point B. Now we're going to take a look at another map of the United States. And this map is showing us the largest racial and ethnic group and religious group by county. So you can see on this map that there are a whole bunch of different colors. You'll notice that there are no city names. You can see state boundaries, but they're a little bit less prominent. And the colors down here represent different things. So for example, the orange color represents counties that are predominantly African American and Protestant. The red counties are predominantly Hispanic and Protestant. The kind of peachish color, Hispanic and Catholic. So you can see that this map isn't the focus of it. Yes, the boundaries are accurate. Yes, the United States is pretty accurate. But the purpose of this is to tell us a story of maybe migration, of distribution of people, of demographics, the study of human populations, and it's telling us a story of ethnicity, race, and religion in the United States. So because of that, this one is a thematic map. So I'm going to have you take a look at this one, and I'm going to give you a second to figure out if you think this is more of a reference or a thematic map. So this is a world physical map. It is showing us the location of physical features, and it is showing us mountain ranges, deserts, plateaus, It shows us rivers. And because of this, this is really trying to show us the location of those places. And because of it, it is a reference map. So if you said reference map, you were correct. And then this one, you might have to kind of zoom in a little bit to see this, or kind of, look a little bit closer to your screen. This is a map of some of the world's many migration routes. So we are looking at maps that are showing us locations. Okay, you can see, for example, on this map, it's showing us France and Germany and Algeria and Libya and Egypt and Saudi Arabia and so on and so forth. But the purpose of this map, or kind of the key feature of this map, are the arrows. And those arrows are representing flows of migration. And because of this, this is also a thematic map. It is telling us a story of human migration. This map is from 2015, which, as we'll learn in this first unit, was a high point in terms of the world refugee crisis and movement of people. And this is a thematic map. So last one, we have a political map of the world. This one's a reference map as well. So now you're going to try it on your own. You are going to go to Schoology. So you can kind of pause the video here. But you're going to go to Schoology and you're going to go to this thematic or reference. And you are going to have take 5 questions. So there's going to be 5 questions. When you open it up, it's going to show you a map. You are going to click thematic or reference based on what you just learned. So there's 5 questions. It should be fairly quick, and it will be a 5-point assignment. Okay, so that you can pause and do that. But I'm going to continue the video with discussion, close out of this, of the next part. Okay, so this is kind of a 2-part assignment or 2-part lesson. All right, so we're going to continue on with the rest of this presentation. And okay, so now we are going to focus on types of thematic maps. And so I mentioned to you that in this class, we focus mostly on thematic maps, not reference maps. And so we're going to go over 3 different types of thematic maps. The first one is going to be a dot map. And so a dot map is a map where a single dot, so dots are used to represent an amount of something, and it's used to show the spatial distribution of a particular feature. And so when you have a lot of whatever feature is being showed, you will see a really high density of dots that are very close together. And when you have not a whole lot of whatever the dots are representing, then you will see a very sparse area. You won't see a whole lot of things here. So we're going to take a look at this dot map. And when we analyze dot maps, we are going to ask ourselves kind of 3 questions. So the first question is, what is this map about? So when we take a look at what is this map about, we need to focus on the title of the map. So the title of the map is World Population Distribution. And so world population, people, we're taking a look at people, and we're taking a look at the distribution, which just means where are they located, where are they concentrated, where are there a lot of people, where are there not very many people. And then our second question says, what does each dot mean? So the dot on this map, you'll oftentimes see 1 dot equals, or 1 dot represents 100,000 people. So in this case, every time that you see a red dot, that is representing 100,000 people. Now, we see some dots here. Okay, I see an individual dot here in Western Brazil. I see an individual dot here, in Russia. But in some areas of the world, you can't really tell how many dots there are. In fact, in Eastern China, which is one of the most densely populated areas, or in India here, it really just looks like the entire region is shaded in red. And so the purpose is not necessarily to count the dots. The purpose of a dot map is to show the distribution of something. So where are there really high concentrations of people? Well, if I take a look at this map, I can tell that there are really high concentrations, high amounts of people, high density of people in this region right here, in Eastern China, in India, in Europe, in Eastern United States, Nigeria here. And there's not a whole lot of people, for example, in Australia. There's some dots here, right? They represent some cities. But the very, very sparsely populated. Okay, so our next type of map we're going to take a look at is an isoline map. An isoline map uses lines to connect points of the similar value. So an isoline map, this is an example of an isoline map. And you can see that there are lines being used, and the lines don't necessarily always coincide or connect with the actual boundaries. So we see a boundary here of Minnesota, but this line right here that represents the difference between the light green and the darker green, they do not line up with those boundaries. But these lines are important because they show us the differences between value. So when we analyze a isoline map, we always ask ourselves right away is what is this map about? And we're going to look for the title. So this is taking a look at the average temperature in Fahrenheit between January to December 2020. So all of the year 2020, this is the average temperature of these regions. So what do the colors mean? So the next question is, what do the colors mean? Remember in the last map, we took a look at what do the dots mean because that was a dot map, but now we're using colors to represent different things. So what do the colors mean? The colors over here represent the Fahrenheit degrees. So if you had a red region, that would mean the average temperature of this particular region within that year was over 100 degrees. Now, we don't see any red on this map, so there's no regions in the United States where on average they're 100 degrees. However, we do see, for example, this green right here. And what you see is that this region, which we are part of right here, was an average hot or an average of between 40 and 50 for that whole year. So the colors represent different ranges of temperature. Okay, different ranges. You notice that because it's going from 70 to 80 here. So that's a range. It's a 10-degree range. So what happens when you cross over a line? So if I am down here in southern Iowa and I'm moving up here to northern Iowa, what the difference is as we cross over this line is that we are moving from a region that has a high temperature between 50 or has the average temperature between 50 and 60 to a region where the temperature average is between 40 and 50. Okay, so we're getting colder as we cross over this line. There are variations within each of these, this color, but they are going to be still within that 10-degree band. And the patterns we see, so we'll notice that the patterns, for example, in the south is going to be warmer. That's going to connect with the things that we already know. You'll also see a lot of variation within this region, and that's probably due to the fact that many of these regions, particularly the colder regions, are very mountainous. So we're looking at a lot of variation in the mountain region, a lot of less variation over here where it's more lowlands. So we're looking at colder temperatures in the north, hotter temperatures in the south would be a pattern we notice, and then we would see a lot more variation maybe in the western part of the United States. That would be a pattern we could analyze. All right, our last type of map is a choropleth map. And a choropleth map is a map that uses shading or coloring to represent a particular feature, but it also uses boundaries. And so that's kind of a key thing is this last map used shading or colors to represent a feature, but it didn't designate didn't use boundaries. So a choropleth map does use boundaries that are already in existence. So this is a choropleth map that is that is divided by state. So we're taking a look at state by state. So when we analyze a choropleth map, we are looking at, we're going to look at these three questions, similar to the last one, but what is this map about? This map is about the median, so middle household income in the United States in the year 2015. What do the colors represent? And so the colors represent different ranges of median household income. The darker the colors, the wealthier those states are on average, their median household income is. And the patterns that we see is that There's lots of different patterns we could point out, but we could point out that East Coast states, or some West Coast or Central, mountain area states are going to be wealthier. We see that there's less wealth maybe in the Appalachian Mountain region, in the southern part of the United States. We see less wealth. All right, so what you are going to be asked to do, final thing for this lesson, is you're going to be working on the analyzing thematic maps. So you are going to, there's 8 maps here. So there's 8 different maps here, and you're going to choose 2 of the following 8 maps. So you can choose any 2. And for each map you choose, you're going to answer the 6 questions below, and you will complete, so that means you're going to complete a total of 12 questions. If you prefer, you can complete the questions in a Google Doc and then share the link in your post. So you are going to answer these 6 questions for 2 of the maps. You're going to open up a map. If you don't really like the map or if you don't understand the map, feel free to choose a different map. Okay. So there's definitely some of them are websites, some of them are interactive maps, and some of them are not. So for example, this is not really an interactive map, but some of these other ones are. So not this one, but actually some of them are. So if you click on this, actually you can change it, but we're going to try not to. Some of them are more interactive because a lot of maps today are online and people can interact with them. So the questions are, what type of map is it? Is it a choropleth, dot, or isoline? What is this map showing? How is this map showing it? Is it using dots, colors, or lines? And then what patterns do you see on this map? Where are the highs and lows of whatever this map is showing you? What other information would be needed in order to understand the pattern? So when you take a look at the map, maps are great sources of information, but they don't always show us everything. So what other maybe information or whatever it is, what would be other information that would be helpful? And then why is it helpful to look at a map on this information instead of just reading about it? All right, so that is your task. And once again, come to office hours or reach out to me if you have any questions.